Did you know that you can make real silver jewelry in your own home? Find out how.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to add some release agent. I'm using Cool Slip here, and I'm just going to massage it into the texture. I also like to use a small brush and take the release agent and push it into all the little nooks and crannies. Now, Texture Smith textures are highly detailed, and they will really benefit from doing this little extra step. It will allow the clay to release cleanly from the texture and also give you a nice, crisp, sharp texture design. And at the very end, I just rub it in with my fingers here just to make sure there's no excess oil and lubrication at the top. So now I'm going to be rolling it out 4 cards thick, but we'll be using the drop card method, which means we first need to roll it out at 5 cards thick without a texture. So these black slats are 1 card and the blue slats are 4 cards thick, totaling 5 cards thick. I have my template to the side and I'm just using that as a guide to make sure that I get the clay the right amount. And you can see it's a little bit narrow, so what I'll do is I'll just pick that clay up, turn it sideways, and roll it a little bit more to get that to be a little bit wider. I can double check that by laying the template on top of it, and you can see here it fits perfectly. So now that I've rolled it out of 5 cards thick with no texture, I need to reduce it by 1 card, that's the black card thickness, and then roll it out on the texture plate. And after I find the correct position, what I'll do is I'll take some Cool Slip and spray it into my hand and use this face down on top of the texture, and the slats go on top of the texture as well. And this is important because if you put them on the side of the texture, you're going to get a really super thin piece and the thin piece will break. So by putting it on top of the texture, it only presses the clay down by that 1 card thickness that we removed in the roller reduction method. So it ends up being 4 cards thick. So on the back, I'm just adding a little bit of texture, and I'm just taking my eyebrow brush and I'm pouncing, and this is going to give us a nice, almost like a sandpaper type texture on the back. I always like to add a little bit of something on the back. Remember, the back is as important as the front because everybody picks up that piece of jewelry and they look on the back. So make it a little bit interesting, or at least make it look like you put some thought into it. So now I'm going to release the clay, and then you can see that texture. It's looking pretty darn good. Okay, so the next step is to take my template and to cut this out. So don't use a X-Acto knife. My preference would be to use something like an awl or a dental tool. In this case, I have a dental tool, and I've lubricated the tip as well. And that just gets plunged right into the template, and I'm just tracing around that inside edge, and this will cut out the clay and it'll maintain that shape because you have that template there. Go all the way around, and then when you remove the clay, you will have to remove the excess clay, excuse me, and pull that apart just like that. So let's see here. Let's take another look at this guy and see how it looks. Yeah, that texture looks great. Look at that. Really good. You can see all the detail. Perfect. Okay, so I've transferred this over to a Teflon sheet, and the next step is to put a hole so that I can hang it from a jump ring. This is just going to be a simple pendant, and I have a brass tube here that I filed the edges, and this will be the size of the hole that I'm going to make. I'm going to be using this to plunge into the clay. But if you don't have this, you can also use a straw or something like that. Just make sure that it's lubricated, and you can create any size hole that you want. So in this case, I'm just going to plunge it in, give it a twist, and then when I twist it, it'll make that hole nice and clean. And to get the plug out of the tube, you can just blow on it like a straw. So this was put on the food dehydrator, and it got dried about 10 minutes. And this is called the bone dry stage. Now you can see how stiff the clay is, but it's still fragile in this stage. So the next thing I'm going to do is shape it. It's much easier to shape it in the bone dry stage, so I'm using a 400 grit sanding sponge. You can see how the sanding sponge can be bent to conform to the shape of the pendant. And you can see how I'm using the edges to create the nice sharp indentation there. And then that beautiful rounded shape towards the bottom, I just take that sanding sponge and fold it, and it creates that nice rounded shape. Make sure that the edges are slightly rounded so that you have a comfortable piece to wear. Oftentimes if you don't round that outside edge, then it'll kind of be rough on the skin. So you just want to make sure that, and it's just a slight rounding, it's nothing that'll be noticeable, it's just more for wearing. So now I'm going to clean up the inside of the hole, and I'm going to be doing that by using a jeweler's file, a round file, and just quickly go on the inside of that hole, just back and forth. Now be careful again, it can break, it's in the bone dry stage, so you just want to be careful when you're doing this. Next thing we'll do is we'll put it in the kiln for 1 hour at 1200 degrees. This is art clay silver. You could also torch fire it if you have art clay fine silver as well. Okay, so when it comes out of the kiln, this is the silver and it's white at this point. So what I'm doing here is I've gone over to the sink and I'm using a little bit of water and some soap, and I'm brushing the piece, and you can see that silver starting to come up. And what's happening is a lot of people think that we're taking the white off, but we're actually not. If you look at a microscope, that white is actually silver molecules that are standing straight up. So what the brass brush is actually doing is it is burnishing down all of those little molecules and causing a nice compact surface. And the more compact the surface is, the shinier it will be. So the brass brush will give a nice finish, and you can see how it's a little bit hard to see on here actually, but we'll show you at the very, very end. You can see though, it does shine up and you can really expose the silver on there. So like I said, this will give us a nice matte finish, and you can add patina at this point and you can stop as long as the whole entire piece has been burnished with this. The soap and water is there to make sure that the brush remains clean, and if there's any particles from other projects, it will transfer over onto your silver. There's a chance of that. So by using it under some running water with a brass brush and a little bit of soap, it'll be nice and clean, and you'll get a brighter finish. If your pieces start looking more like pewter instead of silver, try cleaning your brush, and that's probably the problem. So now we're going to add a little bit of patina, and this patina is in the form of liver of sulfur gel. I've added it to some hot water, not boiling, but hot, and put it on a wire, and I'm just starting to dip. Now the longer I dip it, the darker it will get. And it started off as a sort of dark beige color, and now it's going into a bunch of different shades here, and eventually it'll be this nice dark gray, almost black. Not solid black, but almost black. So we're seeing here, and that's what that looks like. I could leave it like this if I wanted to, but I'm not. I want it to look like silver. So we're going to take it over to the jewel tool. Now this is the blue radial disc that comes with the jewel, that you can put onto the jewel tool. And I'm just taking this and I am buffing the surface. And what this will do is this will take the patina, most of the patina off. It takes it off the highlights first, and then it starts on the recessed areas. And you can see here that there's a little bit of patina that gives that added dimension to make that texture pop out a little bit more, and so that the viewer can see a little bit better. Here's the back, just dipped in liver of sulfur, and that's it, no polishing. And here's the front, and you can see how beautiful that texture is.
If you found this content helpful, let us know. All you have to do is hit
like and subscribe.
and that'll allow us to keep making more and more content for metal clay artists just like you. Bye.